everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make my version of Lahanodolmathes. Okay friends, so we want to take care of our cabbage. First things first, we need to get it parboiled and cooled before we can handle it. So when you go to the store, picking out the cabbage, you want to make sure that you get the one that's the heaviest and the biggest, but you just make do with what you have, okay? Don't put too much stress on it. Just grab a serrated knife and you're going to want to cut a triangle shape around the core, okay? And then you're just going to want to go back around, the slits that you made and just, try and loosen up that piece so it'll come out on its own. So that's what I'm doing there. If the cabbages in your stores are small and you can't really do anything about it, just get two, just to be on the safe side. I got lucky this time. This one came out right away. There you go. It's not hard at all. So let's get this on the stove and get it boiling, okay? Okay, friends, we're going to just put some water in a pot, a teaspoon of salt in there, and we're going to put the core side down, and we're just going to turn this up on high, put on the lid, and let it go for 30 minutes. So my Dutch oven is short and wide, and this cabbage is tall. So that's why the lid is doing that. But everything's going to work out just fine. So if this happens to you, don't stress. After the 30 minutes, take it out of the water and let it sit to cool. So by now your cabbage is completely cooled, and we're going to use the points of the triangle as our cutting guide. So now we're making the leaves for the cabbage rolls. You'll see just as it falls. You see? Okay, so for this next step, we're going to create two piles. We're going to make a pile of the leaves that we're going to use to roll the meat in, and then just the leftover leaves that will line the bottom and the top of the pan with. Just to keep in mind, okay, if you notice that your cabbage is wet and mushy and you just, like your fingers are melting the cabbage, you went too far and you're going to have to do this step over again. You want the texture of your cabbage to be, rubbery still, because we're going to put it back on the pot, on the stove, and they're going to continue to cook, and you want them to hold together well. So going in with the same pot that we used to boil the cabbage, I just discarded the water, I dried it, I oiled it, And then I started making the layers with the veggies. I put a first thin layer of cabbage, then I threw in the celery, a bay leaf, the carrots, and then the green onions. All right, everyone, on to the meat and potatoes. Okay, so here I was supposed to grate the onion. That's what you're supposed to do, whether it's red or white. But I was chopping things along and I was too far ahead already, so I just went with it. And I have the herbs in there, the parsley, the dill, and the chives. This is the Greek seasoning that I use all the time, but you can also find the one on the left in all of our stores. So in the bowl, I have a half a pound of mild Italian sausage and a half a pound of beef chuck, a half a cup of jasmine rice, the Greek seasoning, and the onion and herb mixture that we had chopped up before. Keep in mind you can use whatever meat you want. If it's, beef and pork, or just turkey, or just beef. You just make it comfortable for you and for your family. So this is my favorite part of this whole dish. Now you don't have to be precise with, measuring out a tablespoon of meat, per cabbage leaf. Just eyeball it and, just make sure that you're tucking all the leaves in while you're rolling it and it's nice and tight and nothing is oozing out the side. Because I promise you, once you have everything cooked, the meat clumps together and the cabbage adheres to the meat and it's going to be great. It's going to be nice. Don't stress about it. If you're having people over and you know that they like this kind of food, I promise you guys, this is definitely a crowd pleaser. There's so much flavor. It's not too salty, and you don't even have to add any other spice to it. It's perfect. I love eating these the day after when they've been sitting in the fridge, because I'll just pull it out of the fridge and eat them cold. Oh my gosh, they're so good. The cabbage to meat ratio has always been off for me, so making it my way, it's the way I like it. Now, if you want less meat, per roll, then that's okay too. You just make it comfortable for you and for your family. And then if you have any leftover veggies and cabbage, you can just fill in the spaces that are hollow in your pot so that, again, you want to keep everything nice and snug in the pot during its cooking time. So you can just fill in the spaces with your leftover veggies. All that work and it's so worth it. I promise you guys, it's not hard to do this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line the top with the leftover cabbage, just like that. So here we're making the broth. I heated up 4 cups of water in the microwave for 3 minutes. And I'm going to stir in a heaping tablespoon of the chicken bouillon. Okay guys, so with the amount of meat that I used, the Dutch oven that I have, I started off with the 4 cups of water, and I needed a total of 8 cups of water. So don't fret because we aren't adding any salt to this. We have only added that 1 teaspoon of the Greek seasoning. So, you know, if you are using a smaller pot to cook everything, and you start off with 4 cups of water with that tablespoon of chicken base, you'll be okay. Everything will be just fine. Everything will taste good. Now, maybe you won't need 8 cups of water. Maybe you'll need, maybe 6. That's going to cover your top cabbage leaf in your pot. So just make it work for you. We have a lot of vegetables in this dish, so it's impossible for things to be salty, which is awesome. So even though we have that tablespoon of chicken base and we've got that teaspoon of the Greek seasoning, everything is so perfect, I promise you. I've got this dialed. So that size plate is perfect. It's dishwasher proof so it can handle high heat, and I'll be able to get a ladle and lift it out later. The plate's purpose is to keep everything kind of weighed down during the cooking process. So after 15 minutes, I'm checking to see how things are going. And you can tell that things are boiling in there. And now I'm going to drop it down to a simmer and let it cook for an hour. With the lid on, just put on your timer and let the magic happen. Okay, so now we're going in and making the avro sauce, the egg and lemon sauce. And we're going to separate the yolks. And I ended up adding another egg, another tablespoon of cornstarch, another tablespoon of the lemon juice because I wanted more. So, but anyway, so we're going to make the sauce. We're going to dilute the cornstarch, whisk everything together until everything is nice and mixed in. And then we're going to go to the pot and we're going to temper our sauce here and get some of the broth from the pot and bring everything to the same temperature. And then we'll pour the sauce over everything and then let it sit. Okay, so now we're going to add some of the broth in. You guys just want to be careful right here. Make sure that you're very careful of that plate because it's very hot. My hands are like leather, so I'm still very careful, but it doesn't mean that everybody else's hands are like mine anyways. So here, we need to be careful. I just know that I had like a little hollow spot in the middle, so I could dip the ladle in that far to get the broth. But you just want to be gentle here. I'm being rough. You just want to be gentle. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Just a side note, this is extremely hot and it will burn your face off. So look at the steam there. But that's perfect for me, the cabbage to meat ratio. So good. Oh my goodness, you guys. Thank you so very much for watching my video. I hope you guys make this recipe because this one's near and dear to my heart. It's my favorite. And my family and I just love eating this. So you guys take care and good eating. See y'all in the next one.